Aloha. Aloha. My name is Khumbulani Mdletshe. I come from South Africa, Johannesburg, and I've been asked to introduce my husband, Khumbulani Desmond Mdletshe. Brother Khumbulani Desmond Mdletshe was born and raised in the township called KwaMashu in Durban, South Africa in 1964. His first 30 years were spent under the repressive apartheid regime. In 1980, Brother Mdletshe was baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. 5 years later, he accepted a call to serve a mission in England, London South Mission. In 1994, we were married. We are blessed with 4 children and 1 grandson. Our family now reside in Johannesburg, South Africa. In 1991, Brother Mdletshe graduated with bachelor's degree in history and political science as a minor from Brigham University, Hawaii. He obtained a Master's of Science in Instructional Science from Brigham Young in Provo. He returned to South Africa where he received a Doctor of Philosophy in Education from University of Johannesburg in 1999. He has since obtained a Diploma in Advanced Management from Management of College of South Africa and a certificate in Data Analysis from the University of Cape Town. Brother Mdletshe has been working in education for over 3 decades, teaching, researching, planning, and leading. His work experience varies from high school to university levels at different educational institutions. For 20 years, he was a director of the area Seminarized Institute of Religion. Recently, he was a multi-area manager for church history on the African continent. He currently teaches graduate students part-time at the University of Johannesburg, and he is a manager of Season Palette. Together we serve as Kenya, Nairobi mission leaders, and prior to this, Brother Mdletshe has served in many church callings, including as an Area 70 branch president, a counselor to the mission president, and a counselor to the state presidency.
Aloha. Aloha. I have missed saying that. Can I repeat it one more time? Aloha. Aloha. Greeting to the University Council under the leadership of President John S.K. Kawe III. I'm grateful, my brothers and sisters, and humbled by this invitation extended to me to speak to the BYU family. Greeting to the staff members. More important, my brothers and sisters, I acknowledge the student body, the key university stakeholders. Without you, we wouldn't be here. A big gratitude to those who have worked hard over the last 2 years to facilitate our visit here to this campus. You might be interested to know that there are 12 hours between our home in Johannesburg, South Africa, and the state of Hawaii. Our home is the furthest place from this campus, as the map shows. As a student here between 1987 and 1991, I attended all the devotionals. I listened attentively to all the talks. I used to wonder where they get the courage to stand in front of such an audience and deliver those masterful talks. It never occurred to me, my brothers and sisters, that one day I would stand here on the same podium where church leaders and other significant people and people of influence have stood. Hence, then, my brothers and sisters, I am humbled by this invitation. I'm also grateful, as you have just heard, from my friend, my companion, mother to our children, and a grandmother to our grandchildren. Thank you, Futi, for who you are. When we got married, I made a promise to her that I would bring her to Hawaii to see the campus that nurtured me. She waited for 32 years to see that promise being fulfilled. Your patience is amazing. And that's part of the reason why I admire you and I love you. And that's why I'm standing next to you all the time. You might be interested to know how we met. I returned to South Africa after graduate school at BYU Provo, and with a focus to finding an eternal companion. I was in my late 20s, and I wasn't going to settle for less than ideal. On my first Sunday, I went to church in South Africa. I was not looking, and the branch president invited me to come to the stand to bear my testimony. 2 or 3 minutes just before the meeting started, a family walked in. I look over, and my eyes become very fixed on one of their daughters. Right there on the stand, even before I could get to know who she was, I said to myself, I'll marry her someday. And my brothers and sisters, as you look at her, you will have done the same thing too. I do not remember a single thing I said on that day at the pulpit because my mind was on her. And as they say, the rest is history. My young friends, those of you who are listening to me today, church is a great place to meet your eternal companion. I have entitled my remarks this morning as all these things shall give thee experience. This phrase, my brothers and sisters, is recorded in Doctrine and Covenants, section 122, verse 7. This section was given to the young prophet Joseph Smith on the 20th of March, 1839. 9 years after the restoration of the church, 19 years earlier, Joseph Smith had seen the first vision. During those 19 years, he had been visited by many heavenly messengers. He had raised a family. He translated scriptures, including the Book of Mormon. He had built a temple. He had sent missionaries abroad and was persecuted, as you know, and escaped death on many occasions. The list, my brothers and sisters, is endless of what Joseph Smith had experienced in those first 19 years after the first vision. The Lord, therefore, was correct when he said to him, these things shall give thee experience. May I add, my brothers and sisters, we are here on earth to have experiences. They come in different forms. Some are good and bring joy, while others are hard and difficult and bring hurt and tears. Today, I would like to invite you to think about your experiences, and I invite you to ask yourself, why has God given those experiences to you? To think further about experiences you are having on this campus. To what extent are these experiences preparing you for what lies ahead? Joseph Smith, to some of us who are lucky enough to have studied his life, was shaped by his own experiences. Jesus Christ, the Creator, the Son of the living God, was also shaped by his experiences. We read about this in Hebrews chapter 5, verse 48. It says, though he were a son, yet he learned obedience by the things which he suffered. My Cambridge dictionary adds further clarity on this idea of experience. It says this: it is a process of getting knowledge, skill, from doing, seeing, and feeling things. In most cases, my brothers and sisters, our experiences are made up of little things. But the accumulation of those little things can cause the mountain to move. In the Book of Mormon, especially in the Book of Alma, chapter 37, verse 6, we learn this idea of accumulation of small experiences. They are described in these following words. Now, you may suppose that this is foolishness in me. But behold, I say unto you, that by small and simple things are great things brought to pass. And small, in many instances, doth confine the wise. And the Lord God doth work by small means to bring about his great and eternal purposes. And by very small means, the Lord doth confine the wise and bring about salvation of many souls. Every experience we have shape our lives. We should not ignore experiences given to us. I hold the view, my brothers and sisters, that good or bad, experiences are a gift from a loving Father, given to us for our own tutelage. Some degrees that you will earn on this university will require you to participate in an internship before a degree is rewarded to you. The purpose is to give you experience. When the Lord chooses a prophet, the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, he always chooses the most senior apostle. Part of the reason is that as a senior apostle, he has a tremendous experience in church leadership and vast experience in life in general. The combination of these experiences allow him to be sensitive to spiritual things. At 99 years old, President Russell M. Nelson is the oldest member of the two presiding councils of the church. He was in his 94th year when he was called to be a prophet and the president of the church. Prior to his call as a prophet, he had been an apostle for 3 decades. Among the first things he did as a prophet, he reminded the entire membership of the church why we should use the correct name of the church. That counsel, it is my suspicion, originated from his vast experience as an apostle, a father, a grandfather, a great-grandfather, and a visitor to many nations of the world. I suspect that the experiences had reminded him how important it was for us to use the correct name of the church. Nelson Mandela, the father of a modern-day South Africa, the country where I came from, was also shaped by his experiences. He was in jail for 27 years. He went to jail because he wanted to liberate his people. And about his experiences, Mandela said, no one truly knows his nation until one has been inside its jails. I'm not inviting you to commit a crime and go to jail. That is Mandela's experience. For example, his experience in jail taught him how to reconcile with his tormentors and those who had oppressed his people for almost 400 years. He used this spirit of reconciliation that he had learned while he was in jail to create a non-racial modern South Africa. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, experience, properly utilized, can cause the oceans to go dry. Jacob in the Book of Mormon used his experience when he came face to face with Sharon, the Antichrist. Listen to how he described it. He uses experience to silence him. This is what is recorded. And he had hoped to shake me from the faith, notwithstanding the many revelations and the many things which I had seen concerning these things. For I had truly seen angels, and they had ministered unto me. And also I had heard the voice of the Lord speak unto me in very word from time to time. Wherefore I could not be shaken. My brothers and sisters, as a mission leader, as a former mission leader, it saddens me when you see returned missionaries leave the church. And you wonder, how are they using the experiences they've gained for 2 years and 18 months? And Sherem here, he uses his experience to be able to silence the Antichrist. Indeed, experiences then, my brothers and sisters, can cause the sun to fall from the sky. The BYU mission speaks of the experiences students are to have on this campus. The mission has always been purposed to serve an international population of students, including me, coming from the African continent. I believe, talking from experience, that everything being done at this university is about its mission. When I attended the university in 1987, I was not aware of the mission. Looking back, I testify that I was given real experiences as a student. The fulfillment of this mission starts while you are here having real experiences. With that in mind, my brothers and sisters, allow me to share the experiences that I had on this campus that had shaped my life and how they have impacted my life over time. The first one that I want to talk about is the value of work. I came to BYU with a very, very limited work experience. While in high school, I worked as a garden boy, and my mission service in England had taught me interpersonal skill. Those were the two work experiences I'd had. With those limited experiences, I was limited on what I could do on this campus. It came as no surprise then that my first job on campus was cleaning pots and pans in the evening, while my fellow students were enjoying dinner. I was soon promoted and was given a three-wheeler bicycle with the responsibility to make sure that every vending machine on campus was full. My next job was at a gym, issuing athletic clothes to students. From this physically demanding work, I learned to be compatible with whatever job I was given on my way to achieving my goal. I learned from this campus, my brothers and sisters, how to defend what was right. In Dr. Kathleen Ward's class, the English literature, they read the book written by a South African author by the name of Alan Paton. The name of the book is Cry, My Beloved Country. From the first semester until I completed my studies here, I had a standing invitation to come to this class and talk about how was it like growing under the apartheid regime. Those discussions sharpened my own understanding of apartheid and how I can be able to argue and defend it academically. And I'm grateful for those experiences that I had. This university taught me how to achieve academic success. I came to BYU first for academic success. I knew a university education would change my life, my family, and the nation at large. I was very ambitious to think about changing the whole nation with an education from BYU. And I had been given a chance of a lifetime. I wasn't going to squander it. And looking back, I did not. My parents had no formal education. They grew up in the rural part of South Africa where opportunities for education during their days were non-existing. My mother was a domestic worker. My father was a laborer in the timber yard company. My father told me as a boy growing up in South Africa that education is the ticket to success. This understanding of my family background and the single chance that was given to me to come to this great institution served as an inspiration for me to do well. In addition, there were people that I could not disappoint. The list included my mission president, Dr. Wayne Shute, and the BYU staff at the admission and financial office, and my family who had not seen me since I left for my mission. These people had worked hard to make sure that I was on this campus. Back to my background. Soon after arriving on campus, it became very clear to me that my early education under the apartheid regime had not prepared me to compete successfully at the college level in the US. The apartheid education had only prepared me to do my manual work. In short, and to quote the Soweto Student Representative Council, I was prepared to collect wood and to draw water. It came as no surprise then when I came to the BYU that I was asked to enroll in the ELI, English Language International Language. I took Math 90, a high school math, before I could take Math 110. A few semesters later, I registered for an Astronomy 110 class. Even though I had completed high school in South Africa, it was the first time in my life I learned about the planetary system. As a college student sitting in the astronomy class, it came as a shock to me to learn that beyond the clouds and the skies, there are planets, let alone the universe. Despite this poor preparation, I was determined to succeed and complete my studies within time. I put every effort into my studies. I dedicated 4 hours per day outside of classroom, 2 hours in the morning of studies and 2 hours in the evening to study. I completed all my assignments on time. The work I put into my studies paid off. I graduated from BYU cum laude, and I was on a dean's list for the last 3 years of my studies here on this campus. I was on an academic scholarship, which helped pay for my studies. The academic success that I experienced on this campus prepared me to obtain 4 additional higher education qualifications and passing them with flying colors. This institution prepared me also and helped me to expand my world. BYU, as you all know, sitting in this room today, is that it is in a small town in Laie. Nobody knows about it, especially where I come from. Despite its size, it can still expand your views. From 1998 to 1991, I served as a BYU student body officer. As a student body officers, we all share one secretary. After a few months after I had been in the office, the secretary came into my office looking very upset. She asked, "Why are you not utilizing me like all the other colleagues of yours?" She questioned why I was typing my own letters and picking up my own mails when she could be doing that. And I looked at her and then I said to her, "I come from South Africa, where black people cannot instruct white people." She looked puzzled at first. And after gathering her thoughts, she said, "You're not in South Africa." She left my office. That conversation was of many invitations directed at me to leave behind all prejudice I had known since childhood. Prejudice, my brothers and sisters, in their different forms, can limit your destiny to greatness. President Nelson was correct then when he said, "I assure you that your standing before God is not determined by color of your skin. Favor or disfavor with God is dependent upon your devotion to God and His commandments, not the color of your skin." BYU taught me that we are all children of God, and I'm grateful of that. BYU taught me that soccer is not the only sport. Taught me that basketball, tennis, volleyball are all sports that we need to learn and master. And soon after my arrival, I was exposed to these different kinds of sports. And I'm grateful to BYU, and today I can participate in many sports. And leadership. Leadership was very critical for me when I came to this institution. I mentioned to you that I was in student leadership. And the student roles that were given to us was to organize activities throughout the year. And then you needed to have management and organizational skills to be able to do so. And if you did not have them, you needed to develop them very quickly. I came to the position unprepared, but expected to learn quickly. I'm grateful to my colleagues. One is here in this room today, who taught me patiently how to do things. On my return to South Africa, I was quickly given responsibility to lead. For example, for 10 years, I led the seminaries and institute in over 36 countries on the African continent. In some of these countries, we're going for the first time introducing the seminary and institute program. Many of the current top leaders of the church in Africa will have grown up without parents, which means that their exposure to the foundations of the gospel will have been in seminaries and institute of religion. To have learned how to lead and initiate things from this campus benefited me a lot. As a young student here on this campus, I served in many church positions, including being the bishopric, elders quorum president. One of my friends last night, he reminded me that I was a Sunday school teacher. And such church calling introduced me to church governance. I would need upon my return to the African continent. For over a decade, I served in the stake presidency, for 5 years as an area servant, and in many other callings. BYU leadership experience helped me to be a spiritual leader that the Lord will require. Allow me, as I move towards the conclusion, my brothers and sisters, to share just 2 experiences of how the leadership that I learned on this campus prepared me to be able to minister to individuals. And then allow me then to share some of these experiences that I had. As an area servant, I traveled the continent testifying of the gospel of Jesus Christ. In 2016, I was asked to preside over the stake conference in Jinja, Uganda. I spoke about the importance of the temple during the general session on a Sunday. At the end of the conference, a young lady came up. Like many other people who were around, greeting and thanking for the talk that had been given. She handed me a piece of paper. There were so many people around that I didn't have enough time to have a conversation with her. As I drove away with my car, I pulled out in my pocket the piece of paper that she has given to me. I noticed that in that piece of paper was the list of people, and next to each name of a person was the blessing that they required. And she was asking me, could I take that list and put it in the temple? I've never forgotten her innocent face. Every time I visit the temple, she's always on my mind, and I think about her. Even though she lives thousands of miles away from the temple, she knew that the temples are important and a house of God, and answer to prayers could be given at the temple. Another experience about how my leadership in the church has blessed me took place when my wife and I were serving as mission leaders in the Kenya Nairobi mission. We visited a small town of Molo in the western part of Kenya. Our missionaries had contacted a pastor. I went there to see his congregation and assess the situation for further teachings. I was asked to address the congregation. I spoke about the sacrament. I spoke about the importance of this ordinance and why we, as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, partake the sacrament every Sunday. I shared my testimony and then asked if anybody has a question they could ask. And this a young lady raised her hand and she said, "President, if the sacrament is so important to you, give it to us." I'd never forgotten the strength in her voice as she asked me that question, "Give it to us." And as I left that town, I wondered, and I'm continuing to wonder even today, how many of us as Latter-day Saints really understand the importance of the sacrament. She was not of our faith, but my testimony that day had shaken her up to think about the sacrament. Leadership then, my brothers and sisters, learned on this campus has blessed me. Leadership opportunity has been given to me since then, have been a great blessing to me and the people I was assigned to administer to. We minister to individuals. So, my brothers and sisters, as I move towards the conclusion of what I want to share with you, I want to share with you about how my testimony was strengthened on this campus. I want to share with you with one experience I had with Bishop Maricharangi. He was my bishop in the 11th ward. He invited me to come to his office for an interview. And he asked me if I was paying tithing. I said to him, "No, Bishop." I was very confident of my response. I said, "No, I was not paying tithing." And he asked me why. I told him, "Bishop, I was earning $2. Those of my age group, they will know that. I said, "Bishop, I was earning $2. And that $2 I used to buy my bath soap, the toothpaste, and if I was lucky to take a girl out on a date." Sister Mdletshe, I hope you're not listening to that. He listened attentively and said to me, "Desmond, you have just returned from your mission. If your investigator were to tell you a similar story you are telling me about tithing, after teaching about tithing, what would you say?" That was the end of the interview. I began with my next paycheck to pay my tithing. I paid the entire $2. The windows of heaven were open, and they were open very wide. Since that time, I've continued to pay my tithing. I've continued to see the windows of heaven open. My brothers and sisters, I am grateful that the Lord loved me enough in my life to have brought me to this campus. Those 4 years shaped me and made me the man that I am today. It was the beginning of everything that I wanted as a man. I conclude with my testimony. I know that God lives. I know that He is our Father in heaven. I not only know this because I've heard the prophet say so, because I've studied it as an academic. I know that God lives because I have felt His hand in my life and that of my family. I know that Jesus is the Christ, is the Son of the living God. I know that His atonement is real because having lived on this planet almost 6 decades, I have actually felt the power of the atonement. I'm reminded of that young lady who said to me, If the sacrament is that important to you, give it to me. I think about what I have every Sunday as I go to church and partake of the sacrament. It has made me very close to Jesus Christ and understand his role. I know that the restoration of the gospel really is real. That Joseph Smith saw God the Father and his Son Jesus Christ. That the work that we are engaged with, and that is to bring people to Christ, is real. Because the restoration is real. Because the gathering on both sides of the veil is real. Bear you my testimony that there are prophets upon the face of the earth today. President Nelson is indeed a prophet of the Lord. I bear you my testimony that this coming weekend, you and I will hear the mind and the will of the Lord as we listen to our leaders. This is his church, this is his kingdom. This university, because of the experiences I've had on this university, lived experiences, I know it is the Lord's university. Of this I testify and do so in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.